If you're thinking about chasing fish in a Parker and having doubts about ride quality, fishing capability, how reliable is it? Really? Well, I run a fishing charter business, and today I'm talking all about this, plus some fishing principles on catching SoCal bluefin tuna. Hustle and fish, let's go.
I always going to fish, always.
Welcome to the Hustle and Fish Show. Let's dive right in. Ride quality. Let's just be honest. Let me be honest and say, after 5 years, I'm learning that I still have a lot to learn about how to drive a Parker correctly, okay? You know, it's not just gas and go, because that's what I thought it was. There's a lot of things to factor when driving a boat. And I'm just going to give you my opinion, okay? I love the way the Parker rides, okay? And I do have to admit, in the beginning, I didn't really know how to drive a Parker. There's a lot of things to factor, from wind to swells, trim tabs, just knowing when to give speed, when to chill out. My hand is always on the throttle, always. And I'm constantly adjusting the speed. Thank God I have autopilot, so I don't have to worry about driving as much. My main focus is on the throttle, watching waves, knowing when to back off, knowing when to give gas. During the fishing season, my typical trip is at least 200 miles. At the very end, the ride quality comes down to the captain, the man driving the boat. How fast do you really want to go? Okay? How much do you pay attention? Are you checking the forecast? Are you seeing which way the wind is blowing? Which way the swells are moving? All that stuff matters. I might launch out of Long Beach if I'm trying to get to San Clemente Island because I see the swells in my favor. Or I might launch out of Dana Point because I see the swell is in my favor launching from Dana Point. There's a lot of things to factor. I've taken my family, my wife, my grandson, all no problems. No one ever once complained about the ride quality. So that should tell you right there, the ride quality is good. No complaints from the family. Ain't nothing but great memories. So if you're in the valley of decision, do not let all the rumors on ride quality discourage you. I actually encourage you. Parker 2320 ride quality is pretty good for the budget, in my opinion. Great times, great memories, and I have no regrets. Now, for fishing capability, okay? I doubt a lot of you guys are as extreme as me. Maybe you are. But let's just say that I've pushed the boat past the limit, okay? I'm talking 6 grown men. I'm talking limits of bluefin tuna, roughly about 150 to 250 pounds. For the most part, fishing capability on a Parker 2320 is more than enough, in my opinion. You know, from the outside, a lot of people talk. Ralph, you're taking 6 guys? Oh, wow. Ralph, your bait tank's 80 gallons? Oh, wow. These are just guys who don't have the experience like I do. I got a couple thousand hours. I got 5 years. And if you get some information from somebody, check their resume. Because for the most part, they might have had a bad experience fishing with someone who didn't know what they were doing. Fishing capability is so important to me because I'm always pushing it to the max. I'm pushing it past the max. I'm bringing extra fuel tanks, guys. I know exactly before every trip how much capability I do have, meaning how far can we go today? How far can I push this boat safely? I got about 220 to 250 mile range on 150 gallons on a typical trip. And I'm always watching that. If the fish are biting in the Outer Banks, I'm talking like Tanner, Cortez, the Cherry Banks, I'm taking extra fuel. So when it comes to fishing capability, a Parker 2320 in my opinion, is second to none. Now let's talk reliability. A lot of factors. I'm not talking about the electronics. I'm not talking about the motor. I'm talking about the reliability of the boat, of the hull itself, okay? Now, after 5 years, a couple thousand hours, trust me, I faced a lot of weather, okay? And I'm going to share one experience when I was in Ensenada. This was last year, 2023. I was having a great time chasing bluefin. And this whole time, I was fishing kind of like down swell. I kept going deeper down Mexico. So the fish kept moving down swell, and there I was fishing with them. Looking at the clock, it was about 3 or 4 o'clock, and I was like, okay, it's time to start going back home. I knew the wind was starting to kick up. I knew the swells were starting to get a little bit bigger, but just working down swell didn't really hit me until I turned around, heading north back home, and right away, I was looking at, I don't know, 5 to 8 foot swells, and I was shocked. It was the biggest swells that I've ever seen. They were so big. My first thought as I started to go north, back home up swell, was, I'm not going to die today. That was just my first thought. I looked at them. I guess the fear kind of came in, and I just knew I'm not dying today. And that's just to say how big these swells were. And started working up swell. And boy, the fishing trip was no longer a fishing trip. It was more like a survival of the fittest trip. So as far as reliability, going up swell, facing swells 5 to 8 feet for about 3 to 4 hours, we got home safe, okay? We barely made it, but we made it. And at this point, I have 100% confidence in the reliability of the Parker. Now, before I get into some SoCal Big Bluefin principles, I want to shout out last week's winner, Samuel Quintana 461. You guessed 189 pounds. That tuna taped out at exactly 185. You were the closest one. So send me a direct message, or I'll send you a direct message with my email. Now, for today's contest, someone guess the weight of this bluefin tuna right here. Put your answers in the comments. I'll find them, and then I'll find you. And with that being said, guys, if you enjoy my content, please like. If you're new here, please subscribe, because I'm doing a show every week, and the closer we get into the season, I'm going to be giving some more tuna tips as we go. Now, some big fish principles on catching SoCal Big Bluefin tuna. Let's start with, do you know your gear, okay? I've caught my biggest fish because I knew my gear. Knowing your gear gives you 100% confidence on what you can do and what you can't do. Now, this last year, this would have been my biggest fish because I broke this principle. I had a new setup on the boat, overlooked it. I thought it was like the rest, and I lost my biggest fish to this date. And it wasn't until I lost it that I realized I don't know my gear. I don't know that in particular gear. That is a new rod. That is a new reel. I got too comfortable. You know, catching a lot of fish, guys, at points, it does make you very comfortable, little cocky, little stupid. And I got humbled real quick. Lost a fish of a lifetime. Got 4 or 5 guys looking at me like, the hell'd you do? And I'm just here to help you guys not make the same mistake. To make a long story short, guys, the principle of knowing your gear is so important. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. Just check your drags. Know the condition of your spectra, okay? How old is it? Make sure you know the pound test. Make sure you know how many pounds of drag pressure that spectra could take. Know your rod. How much pressure can you put on it? Your hooks, can they handle the big one? Your knots, your crimping. All this stuff needs to be tested prior, and you need to know exactly what it can or can't do. And that's it. That's one principle that will determine if you go home with a fish of a lifetime or not. Hustle and fish, and let's go.
I always wanted to fish. Always.